Ashigaru Stormtrooper is in the DorkLair! Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations Movie Realization Ashigaru Stormtrooper. And this is one of a number of variants in the Stormtrooper lineup for this Samurai line. This is sort of like the basic foot soldier. I think it was the first original Stormtrooper that they released. And then they also have like a drum trooper, like a flag bearer type soldier. And they have an archer. And they have like a snow trooper. They have like a bunch of different ones. So, but this is my first one. I do also have that drum trooper that I will be reviewing at some point. But we'll start off with this one. And this is my first one I've opened besides Vader. So I'm kind of surprised that this one's got some QC issues. The joints are very loose in certain places, and then there's one joint that pops off super easy if I don't have the figure sort of set up correctly. So this can be a super finicky figure, unfortunately, but it doesn't take away from the look or the general, like, once you get it on the shelf, posability of it. It's great. It just can be a little frustrating playing around with it. It's not broken or damaged or anything like that. It's just a little bit weird, and I'll show you that when we get into the articulation and stuff. So let's jump right into this review. And getting a look at the packaging, I'll give you a little rotation here. You got the figure on the front. On the side, you have the nice bookcase style lineup of the figures, where if you were to line all these up together, they look really good. This one's a little smaller than the Vader box, but they would still look nice on the shelf together if you do it bookcase style. And I just wanted to show again the inside of the box here. So I love this packaging. I think it's really nice. It's got a cover. It's got a nice plastic insert, and then that also has a cover to secure everything. And then inside the box, you see there, it's got a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Getting a look at the paint, sculpt, and detail on this guy, this is where this figure really shines. And obviously, it's mostly a white or sort of off-white bone color, but there are a lot of weathering details that really just bring out the sculpt work on this guy. So, starting at the helmet, you can see it's samurai-like, but at the same time, it's very much a Stormtrooper helmet. Looks really nice. I love the sculpt on that. So many little details in there. Get the eyes painted black, the lenses. At the top of the head, there's a nice weathering to show that this thing is not a brand new helmet. It's been used and worn. So around the back, the back of the helmet is separate pieces. So these are like soft pieces that can kind of move with the helmet there. And then this is also a soft piece right here. The helmet is it does feel slightly maybe whiter than the rest of the figure. Maybe just the face mask. I'm not totally sure, but for some reason it just seems a little bit whiter than the rest. Not sure if I think that's good or bad, but just something to point out. And then throughout the whole thing, there's all of these like rope pieces or like fabric ties so you have down in the collar there holding, it's all sculpted hard plastic here, but sculpted in, it looks like these pieces of fabric or rope or something holding the front piece of the armor and the back piece of the armor on. Looks really nice. Gives it a nice realistic feel. And again, like throughout here, those same pieces sculpted in, and this is soft plastic as well. More of those little ropey details, giving it a feeling of, this thing is not stitched together, but it's all these. Gives it the illusion that all these pieces are separate and that they're held together with these little pieces of twine or rope. You can see the chest sculpted in the shape of a torso, of like a human torso, and then shaded in with some wash in the abs there. Same thing on the back. He's got the There's all these cool little like Stormtrooper things. Like he's got the pack on the back here, sculpted with some nice little details there. I mean, really, I just want to show off how cool this thing is sculpted. And then underneath here, you've got more of an underskirt type thing. Lots of little sculpted details. Again, that's soft rubber. And then that same look. Look, you can see on the knees, they do that Stormtrooper thing where they have like two different knee designs on the actual like Imperial Stormtroopers. It's very similar there. It's like a little throwback or homage to that. And then nicely weathered leg armor, shin guards. And this being like a foot soldier, like infantryman, who I think should have been, I did a little research, and like these guys would have been commoners fighting for the samurai, not actual samurai themselves. And so you get that feel, like not that it's cobbled together, just that it's not made out of like these premium parts with all these high-end things that maybe a wealthy landowning samurai might have into it. So they do a nice job of kind of, it's a stormtrooper, but it's also this particular type of warrior on the battlefield in feudal Japan. So yeah, I think it really shines in terms of sculpt and paint on there. Lots of really nice details. Beautiful figure. All right, so standing a couple other figures in next to the Stormtrooper, we have the Movie Realization Vader, and then we have the Captain America as well. He's basically the same height and build as Captain America, and Vader's a little bit taller, fittingly so. Characters look great together. And then, so a couple things that are definitely smaller. You have an Articulated Icons Ninja and an SH Figuarts Scarif Trooper. So you can get a sense of how big these guys are. They're pretty large. And finally, a couple other lines. Just a couple different things here. So here's how it scales with a Mezco Batman and a Mythic Legions skeleton. So much closer with the Mezco and the Mythic Legions than it is with the Figuarts or other kind of like smaller import stuff. And taking a look at the accessories, the first one is the gun, sort of the old style pistol rifle type thing, blunderbuss, I don't even know what you would call it, but it's actually got a functioning little hammer here, or whatever this thing's called. So you could actually have him posed with it open as if he's about to fire. Click. And then the metal looks really nice, sort of like a gunmetal, worn out. It's got a weathering to it, a patina. It's seen some action, and then you have a wooden handle, and the contrast of those two look really good. It's a nice looking weapon. It has a weird thing where it sort of curves a little bit, like it comes out this way and then back in, but everything is like very stiff. I don't feel like it's bent. I think it's just the design of the barrel. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It just feels like slightly crooked is all. But that might be part of the design. But yeah, so nicely weathered, especially on the metal looking parts on here. And then he also comes with a katana, which the handle is really nicely sculpted and painted there. Looks really good. And it's got a sheath that it can fit right into. And then that sheath can go on the figure right here. And you can get a little bit of movement to reposition it as you pose your figure. He also comes with multiple sets of hands, so he's got the fists on there to start with, and then he's got trigger finger hands, sword holding hands, and then hands to cradle the gun, which fit really nicely. And getting a look at the articulation on this guy, you can see the head can rock back this far and down that far. There's not a ton, but it does have a lower neck joint as well. So you can be pretty expressive. There's just not a huge range of motion necessarily. So pretty good head articulation. The shoulders, there's a lot going on in the shoulders here. You can see here, there's a couple things going on. There's a ball joint into it, and then there's a hinge as well. And then this thing is on a ball that's also on its own joint that swivels up and down. All right, let me actually pop the arm off and show you. So that pegs into the shoulder, and then there's movement like this, but then this ball joint is on its own hinge that swivels up and down. So you can get a lot of different movement out of this shoulder piece. And then there is upper bicep swivel, but it's really hard for me to get that to articulate, and I don't really want to break it. So the other arm I was able to do it on. It's just like you have to really pop the arm out to do anything with it. So I'm going to call that non-functional bicep swivel. Yeah, so if you really want, you can get that to articulate if you want to get some crossbody action going in a different way. Because other than that, there's really nothing going on for movement. There's no other rotation in the arm. Not at the forearm, not at, there's not at the elbows. There's just no other rotation really. The elbows are double jointed, so there is some good options for holding the rifle up in a two-handed pose. The wrists have a hinge, and then they can swivel around, so you can put them in whatever angle you need. I have noticed on mine that the ball to put the hand on and off is really tight. This one's breaking in a little bit better. It's getting easier as they break in, but they are super tight out of the box. I was a little nervous to break it. The actual shoulder movement, I didn't really do that yet, but the actual shoulder movement, you can get a lot of good motion. It can go up this far. It can swivel all the way around. It can come across the body a decent amount as well. So there's actually some really good motion in that arm. Watch out for gaps because it's going to happen. There's just so much articulation that you can form up some gaps there. All right, so another place where I had real issues on this thing with the articulation is the torso. So the torso, when out of the box, it was just popping off easy. I couldn't get it to stay on. It just would pop right off. So I kind of explored. I took it apart and looked at it. And it has to be basically like pushed on. So if I don't push it down on really, really tight like this, it becomes super loose and it doesn't peg all the way in. So it's almost like the skirt is shortening the distance, and it's creating this thing where the ball doesn't go all the way in unless you really push it in. So, and if I really extend the legs, which are attached to the same joint that connects up into the torso, it can pop off, and then it becomes this like project to get it all popped back in tightly again. So really kind of a pain in the butt there if I really want to get some extreme articulation going. And the legs can kick up about this far. There's a lot of bulk in these pants. They're very big. So it prevents a lot of action going on there. So that being said, the torso does not have a ton of movement. It can crunch forward that far. And again, I'm being ginger with it because I don't want it to pop off and then have to deal with it on camera here. So that far forward and then that far back. So not a ton of motion, but it can go side to side really well. And then the leg can kick up this far. As you rotate it out to the side, it can go up further. But, very big, bulky legs. It's understandable. There's not going to be a lot of motion there. They can come out pretty far. And then another thing is it's fairly loose at the hip there. I might try to tighten my joints up a little bit. Yeah, they can come out that far without, popping off or whatever. And the knees are double jointed, really nice articulation there. It's kind of amazing, actually, that I can go up that far with such bulky armor going on. And again, there's no real rotation except at the top. There's no calf rotation, really, a tiny, tiny bit. And then the ankle can rock that way. And it can also pivot pretty well, but it's an angled one. So you're going to have to kind of turn it to get it to pivot like that. can be tricky getting into the right pose with this type of articulation, but at least it gives you an option to have some pivot there. And then they can tiptoe down that far and up that far. Really nice looking boots too. But yeah, so pretty good articulation on these guys. Considering it's a giant bulky samurai, the articulation is really good. I just have this problem with mine that everything is so loose, it's so weird, and it can be super finicky. So kind of disappointed because I don't really, I love playing with my figures and posing and reposing them, but this one I feel like it's not as excited to just like play with. But it looks awesome, and it's gonna, once I get into a sweet pose and put it on the shelf, kind of leave it there, maybe pose it again, deal with the finickiness, and so on. So it doesn't take away too much from the figure, and it might just be mine. I haven't really heard about other people having that same issue. If you have this figure and you have that same issue, let me know in the comments below. But that's about it for my review. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you. DorkLair!